Today we're making a 24-volt power supply for my project using two HP server power supplies connected in series. Each of these power supplies can deliver up to 1200 watts. We don't need that much power for a single machine, but if you're connecting several machines to one power supply, it makes sense to have the extra capacity. Safety disclaimer. We are working with high current, high power supplies. Be extremely careful, even when disconnected. These supplies have large capacitors that can hurt or even kill you. Work safely, double check everything, and understand what you are doing. The connections shown in this video are for powering machines using up to 500 watts. If your application requires more power, you need to adjust your wire gauge accordingly and use dedicated power cables for each load instead of splitting a single cable like I will show here. Always do your calculations and be careful when working with high voltage and high current. When connecting two HP power supplies in series, you must isolate the ground negative pin of one of them from the chassis earth ground. What I mean by ground here is the negative output pin. It must not be connected to the PSU chassis ground internally. How to test: use a multimeter in continuity mode. Place one probe on the negative output pin and the other on the PSU chassis or ground pin. If you hear a beep, it means there is continuity and you need to isolate it. How to isolate? Open the power supply. Locate two screws in front of the unit. Remove the screws and the small ground cable. Insulate the cable and set it aside. Place electrical tape between the PCB and the screw posts to prevent grounding. Screw everything back in without reconnecting the ground cable. Retest for continuity between negative output and chassis. If there is still continuity, you need to find where the negative connects to the chassis and isolate it. In these units, it's usually only those two screws and the small cable that need to be disconnected. Next, we need to make the PSU turn on automatically when plugged in. How? Use a 20 kilo-ohm resistor and small jumper wires. On the PSU communication pins, connect the last pin to negative. Place the 20 kilo-ohm resistor between pins 4 and 5, counting from left to right on the connector. Not all units have the same pinout. Check your specific PSU documentation before proceeding. Repeat this process for both power supplies. I designed and 3D printed an enclosure for these units to keep everything clean and safe. Now I connect the power supplies in series. This gives me 24 volt output, 12 volts plus 12 volts. I also added extra cables so I can still access 12 volts if needed. I soldered and wired everything securely, tested the outputs, and everything worked perfectly. I cut and split the same 220 volt wall outlet to power both power supply units from the same socket. While this works for low to moderate loads, you should not do this if you plan to use this setup at its maximum capacity. If you intend to draw high current, it is safer to use two separate wall outlets on different breakers to avoid overloading your wiring and to reduce the risk of fire. Additional safety tips for wiring: solder all wires properly for strong low resistance connections. Add heat shrink insulation tubes over your solder joints. Wrap electrical tape around connections to add extra insulation and strain relief. Test the continuity of each cable before powering on to ensure everything is connected correctly. Splitting one wall outlet is okay for low power, not for high power. Use 2 separate outlets if your application requires higher power. Proper soldering, insulation, and continuity testing are essential for safety. I tapped the holes for M3 bolts, closed the enclosure, and voila. We now have a stable, high current 24-volt power supply for our project. In the next video, we will build mechanical parts for my secret project, and I think you will definitely guess what I am building. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this build useful. See you in the next video.